Hi, we at Lochleven Brewery obviously provide most of our beers to trade customers in kegs and casks to sell in pubs, clubs, bars, whatever. But we're also only too happy to provide private customers with cask ale should they so require. Now we basically have two types of cask. We have the 40 litre 9-gallon firkin, which we use for trade primarily. That's 70 odd pints and really isn't that sort of suitable for private customers. But we have this baby here, the 20 litre pin, and it holds around about 35 pints. And it's ideal for the likes of weddings, parties, barbecues in the garden. And so the purpose of this little short tutorial is just to show how to prepare these small casks, these pins, for drinking, because they require a bit of preparation. I need a bit of equipment for this. I will obviously need the tap, which I'm going to hammer into the cask later on. I'm going to need a rubber-headed mallet because the tap is plastic and I don't want to shatter the end with a hard hammer. And I will also be using two little things here. They're called spiles. There's the hard plastic spile and the soft porous spile, but I'll talk about those in a minute. The other bit of equipment we have is this wire cask holder. Now it's called a spillage. It can be wooden, wire, it doesn't matter, but that's really to hold the cask in place when you're pouring it. The cask itself, now I'm cheating today because this is an empty one, otherwise I certainly wouldn't be handling it like this. Partly because I'm a two-stone weakling, but secondly, it means I'm not going to make a great big mess on here if things go badly wrong with my demonstration. So it would be a good deal heavier than this, but this is how it will arrive. And just to point out two things too. First of all, on the side there's a vent here which is called the shive. I'll talk about that in a minute. And secondly, at the top here, at the end, there is the keystone, and that's where the tap is going to go. So when the cask arrives, when this pin, this small 20 litre pin arrives, the key thing to do is to let it rest before you even attempt to drink the beer. The reason for that is that the beer from here has come straight from the fermentation vessels in the brewery. There's no filtration done, so there'll be trace elements of yeast and sediment in there, and we need to let that settle, otherwise you're going to get cloudy beer. So ideally it needs to rest for 12 but preferably 24 hours before drinking. And the other thing to point out here is you'll notice that the spillage here, the rack here, has the cask the cask at an angle, and that is so that the sediment will settle at the top end here, but underneath the level of the keystone where the tap is going to go, and that will mean that it won't get drawn out when we're pouring as the pin gets emptier and we start and the last few pints are being poured. So the first thing I'm going to do is to vent the pin. And first thing on top of that is to just clean the shive and the keystone, just to make certain that they're clean and clear of any muck. Not so important there, but very important down here for where the tap is going to go. So just make certain that you give that a good clean to make certain that there's no muck in there. And then we're ready to go. So stage one is going to be the venting the cask. Now, the reason for that is that there could still be some yeast in there, so there could still be some action, it could be still quite lively in there going on. And so a bit of pressure build up, and so what we need to be able to do is to release that pressure. So the first thing is to take the hard spile, and your mallet obviously, put it over the top there, and give it a good tap in. And that is the first stage of venting your pin. Now what we'll then do is start to gradually it's come out rather quickly there. Gradually ease it out. Now, you may well get the pressure appearing here and a bit of foaming coming out, so it's always good to have a cloth around and just gradually let it out, softly, as the pressure eases until you can take it out and it's all done and it's not foaming out the top anymore. At that point, you then take the soft spile, this soft sort of spore, this porous spile, it's breathable, lets air through, and you'll put that in the top, sort of finger deep there. Now that means air can get drawn through there and into the pin to take the pressure out. Now the final thing I'm going to do is to put the tap in. Plastic tap here. This is the bit. This tapered end here is the bit that's going to go be driven into the pin. The key thing here to make certain is that the end here is tightened up, and more particularly that the open and close handle is in the close position. If it's lined down there, down the line of the tap, that's it open. The problem is if you hit it in like that and as it goes in, the beer will pour straight out. So you need to make absolutely critical that you make certain that is closed before you attempt to hammer the tap into the cask. Now that is going to go in through here, through the keystone. And so what I'm going to do, and the other thing is, don't hold it like that, because as you hammer it in, you're going to get nipped. So hold it sort of around like that, down the bottom there. Now you're going to give this a good whack, and you've got to commit to it. Now I hope that because this is empty, this may shift a bit, but what you want to do is give it a couple of things, a couple of little lines up there, and then in it goes. Now, make certain it's firm in there, and you can just twist it round so that it's lying down there, and that should be you ready to go. To pour the beer, all you need obviously is a glass, and then just turn the handle at the top here to open it up, and that should hopefully pour you a nice clear pint of beer. If it's not flowing as quickly as you'd like, it may well be that there's a vacuum building up inside here and that there isn't enough air coming in through here, through the soft spile. So you can always very gently ease that out to a little bit more air in, and that will increase the flow for you. So that effectively is how you prepare, you tap and vent a cask ready for your event, your party or whatever. In the little video clip I will show you now, just to finish off with, I've slightly cheated because I was supplying last year these pins for a wedding, and so I was bringing them the day before, and I was venting and tapping the pins first and then leaving them for 24 hours to rest for the party the next day. But the key lesson to take from the video is that you need to commit, make certain you give it a good old whack, because if you don't, you'll pay the consequences. Anyway, thank you for watching.